Recording. Here we go. All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back to the channel. This is, as I told you, the spoiler discussion that we're going to be having for Wonder Woman 1984, featuring Jalon Payton, who, if you
Hi.
watched... That's Jalon. If you watched our spoiler discussion on Rise of Skywalker, you'll recognize him from that. And we're back again talking about the sequel to Wonder Woman. And if you saw my video on it, the spoiler-free one, you know most of my thoughts already, at least the spoiler-free ones. So let's hear a little bit about Jalon's thoughts first. Go ahead.
Okay.
Overall thoughts.
Yeah, overall I liked it. I definitely say I liked the first one a little bit more. But I think this one just has a lot of fun and colorful scenes. I think it starts off really great, but I think it kind of like starts trailing off like after the beginning when the main sort of like the main plot starts to kick in. Um, yeah, overall it's fun. Definitely the refreshing movie we needed at the end of 2020. And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the plot thing. It's like after the first 20 minutes or so, it just kind of feels like they took, like, I don't know, there were like 2 or 3 plot points like total, and it just kept feeling like they just kept putting in scene after scene, like they really drew it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And it was weird because I didn't really say this in my review. I meant to, but there was like a lack of Wonder Woman. It was like
Yeah.
Diana Prince, 1984.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So that was, I wanted some more Wonder Woman, I think, because we had the beginning one, the beginning, action scene, which was awesome. Although, okay, was it just me, or that beginning scene, did it feel like she was doing a lot of useless action? Like it was like a lot of stuff that's like she just kept I don't know, doing all these things to, it was like 4 guys, right, who were robbing or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. She just kept doing these things that I'm like, she went to one of them and did like a quick punch and then would like go to another one. I'm like, no, finish with him first. And then go back to the, it's like, it just felt
Yeah.
like she was, I don't know. And then there was like that weird moment where she like pushed the girl back into the teddy bear. It just felt
Yeah.
like the action was a little weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this was definitely less action heavy and much more uh, uh like a mind kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
what do you desire the most, but in turn have to face the consequences of? That was the true, I guess, focus of the movie over the fighting, which I guess is a little unfortunate, but that was the direction they decided to go in.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about like a superhero movie and a superhero movie in 2020, when we needed something good, I would, yeah, we needed some more Wonder Woman. But then again, they made this in 2018 when they did not know a pandemic was happening. Oh God.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because it was like I wonder if that affected, their final direction of the movie, with being the pandemic. Like, did they have to rush some parts of the film in terms of like it finishing? I guess.
I mean, as far as I know, because when I went into my senior year of college, that was the summer before that a bunch of my friends were able to be on it. They were
Mhm.
able to help on set as like PAs and all. And so that was 2018. So they were shooting it probably by the end. They were probably finished shooting by the end of 2018. So I'm assuming that they had everything ready, because when was it originally supposed to come out? Like this
I feel,
past summer?
yeah, it was supposed to come out over the summer, or like late spring of 2020.
Mm. So then, yeah. So I'm assuming then that they had finished editing and everything by that point.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there's probably, because I know I haven't seen it yet, but I know that there's some controversial deleted scene or something that people are talking about. Patty Jenkins
Oh.
released. So maybe that was taken out for COVID reasons. Who knows? Who knows what it was about? But really quick, speaking of like little scenes, that end credit scene though.
Oh yeah,
with
that was a
OG
cool.
Wonder Woman.
And they were like, "Oh, let's just throw that in here since we're doing a
Yeah,
1984 film."
yeah. It was that was one of those that I was like, but my dad ended up watching with us the whole time, which was cool. Because he just came down to eat dinner really quick, and then he was gonna go back upstairs, and he ended up staying for the 2.5 hours, which I was kind of surprised about. But yeah, he knew before she turned around. He was like, "That's Linda Carter. That's Linda." Yep, I knew it. So that was cool. But yeah, so yeah, overall the plot was drawn out definitely, and there could have been a lot more Wonder Woman. But Diana, though, Gal Gadot is Diana.
She did it again. She did it again.
I really loved this. Like in the first one, she's kind of that like she comes to this world and Earth or whatever. She lives on Earth, whatever. She comes to the United States and she doesn't know anything about anything. And I love how she's able to. There's this I can't remember what it's called. It's called Born Again Yesterday theory. It's like this video on YouTube, and I'll try to find it and put a link to it in the comments below. But it's basically talking about how all of these movies where there's usually a woman comes from some exotic place or is born as like a robot or whatever it might be, and it's just like they're stupid, they don't know anything, and it's like in a very theoretical sense, it's kind of like the ultimate male desire is like this grown woman who also knows nothing.
Yeah.
Just put that together. And so there was I liked that they took that in Wonder Woman and turned it on its head, because she's not just somebody who's like, okay, I'll go do whatever you say. She's like, no, that's stupid, that's really dumb, why would you do that? And so I liked that in the first one, and now in the second one I like that she knows all this stuff. It's been like 60 years. By the way, yes, in my review I did say that it was made in the 40s, or that it takes place in the 40s, because I am an idiot. For some reason, I remember the first one being set in World War II, not World War I. I am stupid. But I did like that in this one, she's like, you can tell that she like knows everything now. She is like set in this United States, and she's real confident. She keeps to herself. I just really like that about her.
Yeah, and it was interesting when she's explaining to Steve about like all the things that have changed since the last time he was alive. And I don't, since this is now the spoiler discussion, we can also talk about how Steve comes back.
Yes. Let's talk about really quickly. I do love that scene because it kind of flips it on its head. Of he was showing her everything in the teens, 1919, whatever it was. And now she's showing him all these years later, and he's just fascinated. That was awesome. That was a great little twist. But yeah, the big spoiler. Let's talk about that resurrection.
Now I get why they did it, but I wasn't really a fan of the way he came back. I was like, it felt forced, and honestly, the more you watch the movie, because now I've watched it twice, I'm like, Steve actually just becomes the biggest obstacle in the whole film. Because if it wasn't for him staying, like, Diana would have had her powers. The movie could have, I mean, I guess it has to extend the movie a little bit longer, but it's like, it causes that mental battle for her to be like, oh my gosh, so my boyfriend's here because of the wish I made, and the only way to get my powers back is if I lose my boyfriend. Well, I'm going to keep my boyfriend for a while.
Well, honestly, I really thought that was one of the best parts, actually. I thought that their connection was incredible. I actually genuinely believed it and liked it and cared. But yeah, that struggle between love or the powers, love or the world. That's like your classic heroes. What I want something personally, but this is what I need to do for the world. But I actually thought, because when I saw the trailer, I was like, of course Steve is back, and of course we're spoiling this in the trailer, obviously, because it's a main plot point. But I was like, can no one ever in a superhero movie just die and stay dead, except for Quicksilver? But at first I was like, this is really stupid. Why are we bringing it back just because he was a fan favorite? But if you're going to have this plot of like the Wish Stone, I mean, that's all she's going to want. She doesn't want anything else.
Yeah.
So I could see that, making sense. I do agree though that while he does help in the fighting and all, there is this kind of like mindset of you're in the way a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what this world is anymore. So you're kind of out of your element here. The way that he could fight and everything and adapt so quickly, considering all that, is incredible. He's just a great character. But it just kind of felt like you're out of place here. But
and it's interesting because I just thought about this actually. Because the first part of the movie, it shows Diana when she was younger, and she's like in that competition, and she's about to she's like wants to win, and she's about to do it, but she gets stopped because she cheated. And it's like, did they show that to show kind of how she's dealing with that same mental struggle? Like, I want everything that I want, but she's trying to do it the short way of like the wish. But she realizes like, I can't have everything I want. Like, I just kind of have to accept what things are.
Yeah. I think, that's a good point, because at first I was like, what was the point of the beginning? Because it's not like she cheated anywhere in the movie in terms of like getting, like obtaining the goal of like winning or like against Pedro, Pascal, and Cheetah and all. But that is a good point of like, taking the easy way, the short way to get what she wants instead of doing it the right way. That's a good point. It could also be taken that in the beginning it shows how she cheated, and you can't get what you want once you've cheated, and well, not to say she cheats on Steve, but like she definitely cheats on Steve in a physical looks way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, so them doing it like that, where it's like Steve comes back, but he comes back in a different guy's body. I was a little weirded out by that, and I was like, why did they do it that way?
It doesn't make any sense. Like, the only reason I could think maybe they would do that is because Steve like exploded at the end of the last one. However, this is a wish stone. It literally caused World War III. It caused like walls in countries to fall. It caused him to come back. You couldn't put out for the body too. Like,
it was just like, no, sorry. Just you get half of your wish. Okay.
Yeah.
You get Steve back, but you don't get his body.
It just made no sense, and I was confused about it at first, and then I was like, okay, she only sees him, so that's why we see Chris Pine, and because we don't want to watch some random person. But I was confused at first why they did it, but that was my only issue with it. It wasn't until I watched Jared Smarko's review. I talk about Jared basically every video now, because we just talk about everything that we watch, especially towards the end of this last year. In his review, I don't know if anybody's watching this, if you guys watched that one, but he talks about a lot of ethical things, problems that happen or could happen because of this. And I never really thought about it. Like, this guy is being taken over. He's a real person. At first I thought maybe this is just Steve looks different or something, but this is a real person he took over, which I guess I never really fully got that until like the end.
That dude's family and stuff just gets all tampered with, like.
Right, like it's his family. He's technically not able to give consent. So like, what the hell? So and they're both just okay with this. But also,
exactly.
And also I thought about the fact that this guy, well, I guess if the wishes all go back, like, they say that everybody remembers everything. So it's not like it all just wipes away. Like, he should remember at the end everything that happened. He shouldn't be like, look at all this beautiful weather. Like, he should remember everything that happened. And if the government remembers too, I mean, I guess they could be like, it's an excuse because there was some shit going on in the world. But, like, he did a lot of illegal stuff, like steal a plane.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they recognize him as the guy who stole this plane?
Ooh, that's a good point.
They
that is a really good point.
They just wrote themselves into such a corner with it, and they are not even a corner, but just like it was unnecessary.
Yeah. And speaking of that plane scene, I thought it was interesting how they did the invisible jet. You know, I was like, okay, we're gonna get that in one Wonder Woman film, but I felt like it was a little forced here. It was like, I've been practicing this power that my dad has taught me, and I never really used it until now. It was like, I only really used it on a coffee cup that I lost and I could never find again.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try it on a big old jet right now.
Yeah, right? No, that's a really good point. I didn't think of that, but I think that's one of those things is when I was watching it, I was like, that is a little weird because like the whole like taking the plane, that's, because Steve, he pilots planes, whatever. But the actual invisible part is like, if they had introduced it in a little bit earlier on or in the first movie, it would have made more sense because it would have been like, oh, this is something that she's working on. But you can't
it feels more fan service rather than actual like needed for the movie.
Right. It
was just like, hey, you guys remember that the invisible jet thing that Wonder Woman has? Well, here it is.
Yeah, right. It's just like she's sitting there and she's just like, what should we do? Looks at the camera. Well, what if I made it invisible? Like, although I will say, like, there weren't many moments in this movie that were like made me laugh a lot. But when she's like, oh yeah, I forgot about radar, and he's just like, are they gonna shoot at us? And he's like, well, shit, Diana.
Yeah.
That was really funny. That was pretty hilarious. So, but I will say that the fireworks scene, I joked with my brother because I was like, he starts to turn the plane. He's like, I have an idea. And I was like, he's going to run over the fireworks and he's going to blow up and it's going to be really funny. And second movie, oh my God, they're actually going over the fireworks. Like, I was like, really cinematic, really cool, really dumb idea.
I also like how the movie is around the time of the 4th of July, but it ends around Christmas.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How long? It spans like 2 days, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, once, all the wishes go back and then they cut to the last scene and it's just Christmas time. It's snowing and everything. And I'm like the ending of the movie to me just didn't really make sense. Because it was just like, okay, all the wishes were renounced. And then Diana's just kind of talking to this guy who was kind of her boyfriend, but not really her boyfriend because it was her boyfriend in that guy's body. And then she's just like, that's a nice outfit, kind of reminiscing. And then she had some like little reflection and then that's it. That's just how the movie ends. Like,
wow. I never really there's been so much time passed between. You know what? Maybe they're setting up Wonder Woman 3 is going to be that guy's story of how he got from back to his own life, back to this nice weather.
I really just hope he just screamed once he realized he was back in his own body. Like,
it's just 2.5 hours of him screaming and then going, oh, look at the snow. Yeah, honestly, the fact that felt really forced too, of like that whole like I'm gonna step in a frame and be like, look at me, I'm that guy you were with for 2 hours, but I didn't know it.
Yeah, it's like I'm just coincidentally in the same spot as you.
Yeah,
right,
and it's not even like they had much to say. Like they literally were legitimately talking about the weather. Like,
yeah.
So that was that, but. Yeah, so in terms of, well, I guess the two other big things, the villains. I didn't realize that Pedro Pascal was going to be the villain, and that Cheetah was not the main villain, which was interesting.
Yeah, this movie really pulled a Spider-Man 3 on us.
That's exactly what. Yeah, I was like, so Venom she's going to come in like 2 minutes to the end.
They literally did exactly what Spider-Man 3 did.
And I'm
like, here's like a lesser villain to kind of get you through the movie. Well, actually, in Spider-Man 3, they had like multiple villains. And then it's just like, but the main villain you want to see, right?
Right.
Very end.
And like, I guess that's, you're setting up the person and the character, and I respect that. But also, like, then you can't hype up like the two. Like it was like the Joker trailer, where like all the scenes we got of the Joker were like all the scenes of the Joker in the movie. Yeah. And in this, it's like all the scenes we got of Wonder Woman and Cheetah, especially, are all the scenes in the movie of Wonder Woman and Cheetah. Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a letdown. I guess that it was fine because they were setting up her character. It just would have been better if they had a better character.
Yeah, and I thought that Barbara's like growth into Cheetah, it didn't really feel like it didn't feel really grounded because, when Barbara's introduced, she's just like the nerdy girl at work and then she's like, oh, but I want to be like cool like Diana is. But it never really like establishes her character. It's just the next thing is just like she progressively becomes more of like arrogant and right. More like, I just need to care about my looks and my looks will get me everywhere. And then now I'm a Cheetah. Like,
yeah. Like I want to be the apex predator. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to grow fur. Like, yeah. Like I appreciate the fact that with comic book villains and heroes, it's hard to ground them in something like a real personality. And how are you going to make her a Cheetah? I don't know. I got to figure this out. Mm-hmm. How am I going to stop this ad from whatever? But, it was just weird. Sometimes it's just better to be like, yeah, I'm a Cheetah. Like, instead of trying to force and then it just makes it weird. And I agree that like her growth was not really growth. It was just, it felt so forced. And it was like, nerd, like you said, nerdy Barbara, who, by the way, she's not nerdy. She just wears glasses. So what?
Yeah, she wears glasses and dressed a little bit more casual.
She wasn't even that nerdy.
Yeah, like Kristen Wiig, you're not doing that good of a job.
It's not even like, I guess Kristen. It was just the direction of like you can't just put glasses on somebody and be like, "Yep, you're a nerd." Like, I mean, sure, but like, yeah. And then one of my friends was like, when she put on the dress and she's like, I guess I'm confident now. It's like, you could have bought that dress literally any time you wanted. Mm-hmm. This wish did not give you anything except strength and speed, which again is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of her personality, it didn't give you anything you didn't already like for some people, like, yeah, it's hard to have that confidence, and that's fine. But like, yeah. I don't know. It was weird. Like, I get the whole, like, you're losing your warmth and humanity. So that was kind of cool, like, what it took away from her.
But and I was just thinking about that, like, but it didn't really spend much time showing her worth and humanity.
Yeah.
It just showed her being, like, good at her job. That's really all they showed.
That's true.
And so it was kind of, like, it was kind of confusing when you see her grow more as, like, with her looks and everything, and just, like, well, what did you really lose? Because we didn't really see what you lost.
Right. Right. It was a lot less showing and a lot more telling. The script was like, she's warm. She's mean. Literally the one line where the guy's like, you don't have to be so mean. I'm like, oh my God. The script. There were so many lines that just fell so, like, I don't even remember what she said. But the line where she's like in the alleyway and she like kicks the crap out of that guy, mm-hmm. and then he says something and her response is just like so generic.
Are you talking about the when he's trying to grab her and she's like, no?
Yeah, it was like right after like they get out of the sidewalk and he's on the street and he said it was like the final line of the scene, and whatever it was just like, Yeah, that's what a villain would say. Also, speaking of like generic villains, why is it that every bully and drunk guy, they act so stereotypical? I hate it. I
Mm-hmm.
hate movies with bullies and drunk people because drunk people they do, actually sometimes they do, but
Mm-hmm.
most times in like movies and all, they're just so like, hey, come over here. What are you doing? Let me walk you. I'm like, God.
You're struggling to walk in those heels, like.
Yeah, like, no, don't do that. Um,
It didn't feel genuine. Like whoever wrote that, I was just like, um, I don't know.
the script was not.
It fell flat a couple of times during that film.
Yes, yeah.
But thinking about the other villain, Max Lorde, played by Pedro Pascal, it, that was also another weird villain for me in terms of like his goal and objective. Like you first see him, he's like, "Hey, it's that guy from TV. He's cool,"
That
and
guy
then
from
he's just like,
TV.
"I'm actually secretly really greedy, and I want this dream stone, so that way I can have everything in the world go my way.
All right.
I'm evil," and it's just like, where did this come from? Like
Yeah.
it didn't spend any time really reflecting on like his research about the stone, how he got
Mm-hmm.
to know about the stone. It was just, I know about the stone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm that guy from TV who just knows about it, and I want it.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Like, this movie had more of a comic book feel rather than like the gritty feel of the first one, which is fine. That's cool. Like, if you're gonna go a different direction, fine. But even for like a cartoonish comic book villain, it was way over the top. Like,
Yeah.
at first it was okay. Like, you think he's putting on some sort of act or something, but really he's like serious. But like, he was just so goofy the whole way through. Two of my favorite parts. One is when he gets the stone and like puts it behind his back, and he's like grabbing it
Yeah.
like this, and I'm like, we have to really know that you have that stone. And then he like
Yeah.
walks out of there and he's like, but my other favorite part is at the end when he just goes, I renounce my wish, and then runs away.
Yeah. My son.
He just like, that's cool and all, and I like that his son was the thing that he was gonna lose, so that's why he like stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little confusing with like how she got the lasso around his leg because they just showed that it like wasn't happening.
Yeah. I realized that on my second watch. It was just like she couldn't get it, and then all of a sudden she's just talking, and he's like, it's not gonna work, and she's like, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
And then it's just all of a sudden the lasso of truth is around his ankle, and just like, oh, that's convenient.
I was so confused, and I get like the twist was like she's talking to the world, but like the speech was like, so you can be the hero, you're the one who, and I'm like, oh, all right, a little generic, but
Yeah.
yeah,
With
when he was
great
just
power
like,
comes great
oh,
responsibility.
it's like they looked at every Spider-Man movie and then said, we want to do that and make it look like Thor Ragnarok. Like they took like Kristen Wiig is literally Electro as Barbara, like Barbara's Electro,
Yeah.
and then Cheetah is Venom. But yeah, when he was like, I renounce my wish, and he runs away, like he's got to go to the bathroom or something. I was like, this is so weird.
And you talking about just the 80s aesthetic of the movie. I realized when I was watching it, I was like, they should have put a little bit more like 80s music or maybe just 80s references in the movie. It just felt like I
Yeah.
forgot we were in the 80s sometimes until
Yeah,
someone walks
yeah.
by with like a really weird mohawk. There was like a group of kids when they were in the train
Yeah.
station. They just had like mohawks and stuff. Like, oh yeah, this is the 80s. That's right.
And like, it's fine if you don't want to make the 80s look like the 80s. You can just be like, yeah, it's set in the 80s. Not everything was always these, workout pants or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're going to call it Wonder Woman 1984 and really hype that up, I best be seeing some mixtapes or something. Like,
Yeah.
like just something. Because, yeah, a lot of their how they dressed seemed very normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And I wish there was like more, maybe like a soundtrack like some 80s songs,
Yeah.
like not already used in maybe a Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. That would be
Um,
cool. Although I can understand maybe why they didn't, because DC's already being compared to Marvel 10 Ways to Sunday.
yeah,
So there probably would have been like, okay, well, DC, you tried to be Guardians of the Galaxy with Suicide Squad, and that failed. So what are you trying again? Are you trying to make Thor Ragnarok with Wonder Woman 1984? So I can maybe see, but it's still probably on its own would have made it a lot more fun.
yeah. Maybe they could have just did maybe one or two songs. The only time I think music is playing is when they're at the party that Max Lord is hosting.
Mm.
But yeah, there's just really not much 80s music playing during the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
The most 80s thing, I guess, during the I'm not, and again, like you said, it didn't need to be like 80s aesthetic everywhere, like leg warmers and like,
Yeah.
it didn't need to be that the whole film, but I think a little bit more 80s instead of just that mall scene, because the mall scene felt very 80s,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
It did.
But it's just like I felt like that touch just kind of got lost, and it more so felt like 2020 but set in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense. It did. When the whole World War III thing happened, and people, like everything was going batshit crazy. That definitely felt like 2020 set in the 80s for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, because when it first came out, people were like, "Wow, this is great," and then I was hearing like, some people think it's really great, some people think it kind of sucks. It was very polarizing, and then all I was hearing was bad reviews. So I was like, I don't even know what to think going into this. I understand, I think, all the sides. I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. It's probably one of those things where it was hyped down so much that I was like, oh, I have no expectations.
Yeah.
But it definitely, it's one of those that the more I think back on it, the more problems I see. And I was definitely interested. It was one of those I was intrigued while I was watching it. But if I was to like pick between like this and another superhero movie, I'd probably go with whatever other superhero movie, because this is just, I would say, less rewatchable.
Yeah. I mean, especially for me who did rewatch it, it just the second go around just didn't feel as satisfying, because I watched it the first time, as soon as it dropped on HBO Max, like 12 o'clock exactly. But the second go around, I just felt like I didn't feel the same excitement. I was just like, I just feel like I'm watching a movie now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but like when I watched it the first time, I was going into it like very rose tinted glasses, like, whoa, this is like the biggest movie that we're going to get this year, essentially. But then the second come around, it's just like, oh, it's a Wonder Woman sequel.
Right.
Like it's like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for me. Yeah. Where it's like, I like it, but I'd rather watch the first one,
Right. And I like that they weren't trying to set up a lot of stuff. It's just its own movie. I like that. But it definitely is. It was just. It's one of those movies that, if I was thinking Civil War, Infinity War, like obviously those are bigger ones, but even like Guardians, I'm like, I want to sit down at night, grab my popcorn, and watch that. This movie, for some of it, feels like that. For some of it, it just feels like a movie that like. How do I put this? Like comes on like TNT at like 2 p.m. on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Or you're just like, I'm doing stuff, I don't feel like watching the movie yet. I'm gonna it's not like one of those that you're like, I'm waiting all day, I'm gonna get food, and I'm gonna sit down and watch Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah. But it's also not like a bad movie night kind of movie. It's
right.
Like,
it's
just
in the
like
middle.
it's like I want to casually watch this maybe one day. Like, you're just thinking like, well, if I'm gonna watch the first one, let's watch both of them.
Yeah. Right. So what would you give it as a rating in terms of out of 10, 5, letter grade?
Okay, so this is tricky.
This is the dilemma I go through with every movie on the channel.
I know. In terms of 1 to 10, I'd probably say a 6.
Yeah.
About a 5 or 6, somewhere in that area. I like the movie, but again, it felt like a watered down version more so of the first one. Like the characters just didn't feel they didn't feel as strong. Like
Yeah.
Diana especially, because it's like, yeah, she still looks really cool because Gal Gadot does a really good performance of her, but it just didn't feel like the same statement that the
Right.
first one did.
Right.
Especially with, you know, the whole kind of, I mean, I guess it makes sense because of the plot of the movie, but it's like her whole conflicting ideal of like, well, I know I need to get rid of my boyfriend in order to kind of save the world right now, but I kind of also don't want to. And I was like, would Diana do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's I think that's a really good point because I appreciate the character growth and everything, but also it's interesting to see that change because while she's grown as like a person like in the US or something, you know, in the first one, she's like, that's not right. This is our duty. We have to do this. And this time she's like, nah, I want what I want. And, you know, like 60 years of saving people, I'd be like, yeah, I want that. I want Panda Express too. Like, can I just please have it? Just once.
Yeah.
My God.
The one thing I want in the world, like, please.
Of course, you know, if I got Panda Express and it actually resurrected as like McDonald's, I'd be a little annoyed. Although that's not bad either, you know. But but it definitely was interesting to see that change of like from duty to this is what I want now, which is a very, you know, like human thing to want.
And I have to mention the point. I mentioned this when we were talking earlier, but the whole, you know what I'm about to say. So when Barbara and Diana first meet,
oh yeah.
and I didn't notice it. You can't really catch it on the first watch. Then when you watch it the second time, it's like, did they just do that? You know. So, you know, Barbara drops her papers all over the floor and Diana starts helping her out. And she's like, oh, this is why scientists don't wear heels. And Diana's like, well, sometimes they do. And Barbara's like, oh, wow, those are really nice heels. And guess what heels Diana is wearing, everyone? Cheetah print heels.
That's
not going to be important later.
I feel like that's one of those that, like, while is a very, like, obviously it's subtle that, like, we didn't catch it on the first time around. And, like, you know, I appreciate, like, the thought. It's one of those that, like, because you're dealing with a villain named Cheetah, it's just inherently going to be on the nose, you know? But I feel like it's one of those that, like, you see the cheetah print heels and, like, the costume designers are sitting back like Leo, just, like, with their drinks, like the meme.
Like we're going to blow their minds with this one. Like,
yeah. The costume designers are like, so get this. Cheetahs. I love it.
I'm surprised they didn't throw like a bag of Cheetos in the movie, honestly.
That would have been really funny. I tried to make the joke during the movie. I was saying something about the fact that because Diana was cheating at the beginning, you think you know where the show is going, but it's not because I'm stupid.
Okay.
I said to my brother, because she's cheating, like, you know, she's a dirty cheater, I guess you could call her Dirty Diana. And my brother said, I thought you were going to say Cheetah. And I was like, yeah, that would have been better. Although, you know, that would have been the low-hanging fruit. So you know what? No, I'm gonna take that back. Mine was better. I put down in the comments below if you think mine was better. Yeah. So any overall other thoughts or things that we missed on Wonder Woman 1984?
I mean, again, I like it. I definitely see both sides of where people are coming from when they say they don't like the movie or they do really like the movie. Again, the movie does feel like a breath of fresh air because I mean, nothing really came out last year, but this and the other DC movie was Birds of Prey, which was also all right. But yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't kill my interest in this series. I'm definitely looking forward to what the third one will be. Hopefully they learn their mistakes from this one and definitely set them back on the right course. Yeah. Overall, it's fun. If you go into it not necessarily with low expectations, but if you go into it like, not being extremely critical, you can pull something from it. Like, you'll at least see something you are going to be like, I like this, you know?
Right. It's one of those, you're like, I enjoyed it. It's one of those movies that's like, you had fun out there. Like,
Yeah.
Did I do good? I think you had a great time out there. But yeah. And so last point, we were talking about this earlier, not about the movie necessarily, but the fact that it came out on HBO Max. Now, if you saw my spoiler-free review, you know my thoughts on this.
I broke Matt's rule also, by the way.
Well, it was okay. It was for the review. And that is a little bit of a caveat, is that like if you have HBO Max already, or like you have it for like the month accidentally, like I do, that was something I was going to talk about in my review, and I just cut it out. But like I went to get the free trial for HBO Max, didn't realize, because it said it on my TV that you start your 7-day free trial. Didn't realize they stopped doing it because they knew people were going to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, congratulations, your subscription begins today through, your billing will be next on January 28th. And I was like, what? And by the way, there is absolutely no way to cancel HBO Max. I looked everywhere. Every single like route I went to try to cancel it took me back to Amazon, of course. And because that's like where my billing was through. And no matter what I did, there was never one thing that said cancel subscription. Now, I was able to stop my payment for like automatically happening on January 28th. Thank God. And it'll probably give me something then. But I'm like, I just have HBO Max forever? Like, this is what they did.
Okay.
I know. I'm trying to get in touch with somebody. It's a whole thing. But the point is, while HBO Max is cool because I'm going to watch a heck of a lot of Game of Thrones up here to get my $15 worth, the fact that they went ahead, the fact that they're putting it on HBO Max is one thing, like all their movies. They're still putting it in theaters, so it's not like they're like exclusively streaming, so it's fine. But I get it because of COVID, at least for the next 6 months. But like, there's a timeline that people are saying we might be out of this by July. Why not put it till June and go from there? Because now you're just making people be like, well, streaming's the future and theaters are going to die. Like, I don't think theaters are going to die, but you're definitely like really sticking it to low, like lesser known, not as commercial theaters, So that's just really upsetting in terms of, people who love going to the theater, and just the fact that they didn't tell like any of the directors or producers of the movies that they're going to be putting on, like Villeneuve, I think is how you pronounce his name, the guy who's directing Dune, and Christopher Nolan, I can't remember who's directing James Bond, but all of them, they didn't say that they were going to be putting them on HBO Max as well as in theaters. So it was kind of like a big screw you, because it's not like the people could have been like, no, you can't do that. Like, HBO Max is HBO Max. They can do what they want.
Yeah, basically.
But it would have been like a nice gesture to say, hey, by the way, half of your revenue is going to come from streaming. Like,
yeah, and I don't know. It's just I get this new age we're kind of moving into. I understand there has been a huge hit in terms of the film industry because of the pandemic. Yeah. But it's just like, I hope we're not moving in towards an era where the theaters are just going to be, in mentality-wise, just going to be cut. Like, oh, we're not going to. Right. Because, I mean, look, you can easily go on Twitter and you can see someone having a nostalgia trip like, man, I miss this feeling.
Yeah,
like, when you're just like walking out of a dark theater. Like, there's just, like, even someone like me who doesn't go see movies that often, like, I still love that feeling going to see a movie, because it's just, it feels like an event.
Exactly.
I mean, it's also like live theater as well. It's like, it feels like an event because you're completely detached from the outside world and you're going into a film. And I mean, yeah, it was nice watching this movie and Soul and that's about it.
Christmas.
At my house, but it definitely wasn't the same feeling as going to a theater to go see it with like your friends or by yourself. So we'll see how this goes. I get why they're going this way, and because HBO Max is taking all Warner Brothers movies, and they're automatically coming out on there. So,
yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like you said. I mean, it's like an experience, and like Chris Stuckman said that all his thoughts on this. He was like, I remember movies better when I went to the theater. Like he's like, I watched a movie like 2 weeks ago, and I don't remember it as well as like this one I watched 4 years ago. You know, because you just remember that experience. I mean, sitting at home, you're like, yeah, I'm sitting at home, and I got to pause it because we got a vacuum or whatever. You know, like it sucks. You know, it's so. And the other day, we were trying to watch something. I can't remember what it was. I think we were trying to watch Inglourious Bastards. Not that it just came out or anything, but I literally looked up for like the 5th time that week, Inglourious Bastards, where to watch on streaming. And I was like, oh my God, is this what I become? Just like which platform am I using today?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so sad.
We're definitely moving towards streaming platform era, and they're all just going to compete with each other because they're all going to carry different movies, and you're going to have to get all of them in order to watch the stuff that you love. And it's unfortunate, but
and you know what? People are complaining about ticket prices, but like, bro, you're paying $10.99 for 12 different streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure that's more than a $15 ticket every month.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think a movie ticket, in my opinion, is kind of worth it. Yeah. I mean, depending on what I'm going to go see, you know.
Right, yeah.
If I'm watching something like, I don't know, I'm picking a random bad movie I saw, like Dirty Grandpa, right? Like, that didn't feel justified. But
well, you know, I don't know, because then at least you're like, you know, at least you're like, that's still a memory of like if I were to watch Dirty Grandpa here, I'd feel like I just absolutely and utterly, especially as a perfectionist, wasted my day. It's like 3 p.m. and now I hate myself.
Yeah,
but,
it's like,
but
am I mentally okay?
Going to the movies to watch Dirty Grandpa, which I didn't, at least you could be like, okay, there had to be something, like, because you were laser focused on that movie, there had to be something about that movie that I enjoyed for a minute. I was still out here. I was still doing something. I came home and I did something that day, and now I can work on something else when I get home. You know, at least it was still like even if it was bad, it was bad all the way. It was official. You know, It's not just like, I put on this crappy movie and I turned it off, whatever. It means something. Yeah,
and I guess like when you watch a bad movie at home, you still have that option to turn it off. I mean, when you watch it in theaters, you could leave, right? You could just walk out. But then it's like, oh well, I wasted $15,
right,
that I can never get back.
Exactly.
So we will see how streaming era goes. We'll see if we can even ever safely go back to theaters.
If I can go. Check in on your film friends. We're not doing okay.
Yeah, I and your theater friends as well. Trust me. We're not. We're doing good either. But it will come back. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we will see.
Yeah. I hope so. Because I mean, you know, theaters are never gonna die. You know, because for as many people as, you know, you say, I'd just rather sit on my couch at home alone and, you know, or with somebody and just watch it, which is perfectly fine. I mean, that's definitely like understandable. You're going to have as many people who go, well, at least every month I'm going to want to go out and see a movie. I mean, when you think of like extracurriculars, geez, I'm still in school. 2 years later, when you think of like fun, you know, hey, what should we do tonight? Well, let's go see a movie. Like that's like the number one thing people are like, let's go do that. Like what movies are out? What movies are playing? You know, or like, I mean, on Christmas, it's like a big thing that Jewish people do is like they go see a movie, you know.
It's like it's just it feels like an event.
Yeah.
You know, like even for a small film, it feels like an event. Like especially with superhero films, because you know we're talking about Wonder Woman. It's like this film. I think if I would have saw it in theaters, would have been totally different. Yeah. Because like I wasn't. I'm not saying all superhero films are great because you see them in theaters, right? There are definitely some I'm still like, but just that feeling when you see a film in theaters and then you're leaving out and you're talking with your friends, just like, whoa, that was like that one scene was really cool, right? Like, whoa, you know,
right? Yeah, I remember when we went to see Infinity War. We got it was reserved seating, we got tickets and everything, so we were all good to go. But I wanted to get my popcorn, my drinks. I wanted to be in that seat before preview started, like normal, but definitely for this one. we went to Fridays, like we were in White Marsh. We went to Fridays like 2 minutes out, from the theater. And we ordered our food, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, it's not coming fast enough, man. It's not coming. And everyone else is like, relax, we'll get there. We have our seats. I'm like, I know, but you don't understand the popcorn, the previews.
Yeah.
And we literally got our. I felt bad about this. We got our hamburger, and I said to the waitress, I said, thank you. Can I have my check, please? Can I get this boxed up? I ate 2 bites. I took the thing, put it in the car, and we went. Because I was like, we're running out of time. I was like, I want to get into the seats and everything first. I felt so bad about that. My friend was just like, you have to learn to enjoy yourself. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to do that.
I was like, ma'am, I do not want this burger. I want to see the Avengers fight Thanos right now with my popcorn and soda. You're wasting my time.
Oh, man. Yeah. Experiences.
All right.
So, yeah. That's our spoiler discussion. What would the next one, I guess, be that would come out that we'd have a spoiler discussion for? I guess
I think the next superhero film that comes out is Black Widow.
Black Widow. Okay. That would be one that we'd probably do. I mean, obviously Spider-Man 3 is going to be like a Mondo discussion depending on what happens in this movie.
Man.
That'd be like a 2-part discussion.
Spider-Man 3. I love this one tweet I saw. It was just like, do I have to watch Spider-Man's 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 to understand 1 and 2 to understand Spider-Man 3?
Yeah. That's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I guess we'll do Black Widow next. Probably.
Black Widow.
Eternals is coming out, right? Or is it not? I don't know.
Honestly, there's just been a whole lot of movie news recently. I was just like, it's a lot right now.
Whatever the next MCU movie is, we'll probably be back.
Yeah.
So let me know your comments below what you thought of Wonder Woman 1984. Go check out the spoiler-free discussion. Also, go check out Jalon's YouTube channel. Nalo and Baco, do a little plug.
Oh, yeah, that's
on the spot.
Details in the description there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Go check that out. And cool. As always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and Cheetah print heels right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.